Chapter 2. Justin rushed Hannah off and away from Jovani, into the movie room, and as far away from Jovani as he could in those few minutes. He took her down the stairs, passing Gabriella and her boyfriends as they watched a movie, with one kissing her and the other with his hand under her dress. Knowing Jovani was occupied and very soon he would look for Hannah, Justin wanted to be gone out of the area by then. What was that all about? Hannah asked, standing in the hall facing the door leading to the stairs outside. Her large green eyes gazing at him with confusion. I'll tell you later. Let's get some air. Get some breakfast. I feel like a large plate of pancakes and a steak. Don't you? I don't remember saying I like pancakes or steaks. She looked at him with a new resolve. She finally found her voice and would register her dislike for things. Now she wouldn't hold back her displeasure of being taken from someone she liked. Not just liked, she thought she loved him, and how dare Justin take advantage of her to take her from him. Before now, she didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings. She had a life-changing event which happened in that alley, and if it hadn't been for Jovani, she would be dead. He gave her a new life, and now she wasn't afraid to be, and love whom she desired. No one had a right to tell her who she should date, and especially not Justin or her parents. I had to say something to you, Hannah. That person. He paused to frame his words. That Jovani character had you captivated, and he appeared to be controlling your mind. Hannah chuckled at the thought. It wasn't something she was familiar with. She had read about hypnotists, but that couldn't be what Justin meant. Can someone do that? Hannah questioned. It felt as if she had just been dragged into a hole like Alice in Wonderland, and the world she found herself in was alien and strange. I didn't think anyone could do such things except maybe a hypnotist. She shrugged it off. This is all but a joke, and you are playing one on me. But I'm not falling for it. She turned to return to the movie room. He stood in front of her, blocking her way. He's no hypnotist, Hannah. Justin's voice soft but stiff. His glare penetrating. If it's possible, and it is, he can control everything about you. You need to be aware that there are things you don't understand and never will. You have to be prepared for what I'm about to tell you. You're a smart girl, listen carefully. Justin's voice took on a sense of urgency. They kept walking and Hannah's eyes never left Justin's. She wanted to hear him out. He held her hand, opened the door, and disappeared down the stairs with Gabriella never noticing anything because of her being attentive to her boyfriends and the pizza she was feeding them. When Justin and Hannah reached the bottom of the stairs, they stepped outside into a lovely courtyard with water fountains and gardens with trees and shrubbery. The trees had dropped its leaves for the winter months, and visions of the coming colorful tulips in their own garden faced them. It was a false winter night. Not as cold as usual. There was a light snow. Hannah didn't feel the chill and sat under a tree. Justin sat near her and then moved closer to give her comfort from the biting cold of the night. She responded by leaning away from him. What is it that's so important you have to tell me this now and out here? Hannah said, responding to the intimacy of the courtyard. She wrapped her arms around her waist, shuddering under a black sweater. Justin glanced at Hannah and then bit his lip, took a long look at her and sighed, knowing what he had to say wouldn't be the complete story, and why he knew some things that would sound outrageous and far-fetched to anyone hearing it for the first time. He's a vampire. Hannah stared long at him. There was no way to get around saying it. Justin knew breaking this kind of news to her would be unbelievable. He knew he sounded like a lunatic, but what other way could he tell her? And if he sounded ridiculous now, he would be more so when he broke the news that he himself was a werewolf. Are you serious? You did say I wasn't stupid. Well, you're insulting my intelligence by saying that to me, Justin. She closed her eyes for a second and brought her closed fist to her mouth. She rose and he reached for her hand. Glancing down at his hand and into his eyes, it was something about him that made her stop. The color of his eyes had changed, or maybe it was the way the large moon shone above them, providing an unbelievable amount of light, which caused his brown eyes to sparkle. Hear me out. He reached for her and brought her down to sit once more near him. She didn't resist this time. She wanted him to say what it was he needed to tell her, and this time she wouldn't say a word. She would let him finish before she reacted. She had been receptive in the movie room and had been completely turned off to him now because of his outrageous jealousy concerning Jovani. However, she sat quietly and tried to pretend that what he had to say interested her. Even if she vowed not to allow someone to control her, she wanted to be respectful. That may have been her problem. She was too respectful and not like the other girls she knew. Hannah had been too quiet too long and didn't gossip, and people seemed to tell her the most outrageous stories as if she was naive. And now it looks like Justin had the same opinion of her as the others. She always listened to people and never commented or objected to the things they said. She was a good listener and not a talker. Her days at school and nights at home had been spent listening to her friend Gabriella and her mother's problems, while quietly putting hers on the back burner and keeping them locked inside. Now she was filled with others' problems and stories. She hoped she didn't have to listen to another one, and especially by Justin. She was beginning to warm up to him and now considered him a friend, but she became guarded because of the idea that Jovani could be a vampire. Who says things like that? Only a madman or a jealous fool, she thought. Her idea of Justin changed where she thought of him as one of those weird guys who girls stayed clear of in school. He dressed different, which Justin did. Justin wore old jeans that were perpetually torn as well as a torn plaid shirt, and rarely did he wear a jacket in the winter, but today for some reason he had one on. "Please tell me what you have to say so I can return to my friends, and besides it's fucking cold outside," Hannah said, surprised at her own language. She needed to cut short this talk of vampires. "That man who you're falling in love with is not a man in the sense that you think." He paused before continuing so as to gauge Hannah's reaction. When her face didn't respond or when she didn't rise and walk away, he continued, "He's immortal." She tapped her foot impatiently and smiled at Justin nervously. Her lips trembling not so anyone would notice. Although he welcomed the smile and thought it was great because for the first time she seemed upbeat, but he had no illusions that she would believe him. "First, I'm not falling in love with anyone. And second, this is hard to believe. What you are saying does not make sense. It's something out of a Stephen King's novel. And third, I don't know you, just like I don't know him. And why should I believe you, and he hasn't had a chance to explain himself? I think he has my interest in mind more than you. He was there when..." She caught herself and blew out a large breath. "Have you met him before tonight?" Justin's voice rising. "Yes. Last night to be exact." "Did he? Did he bite you?" Her mouth fell open. "Of course not," Hannah said, annoyed, her voice raising. "You didn't say anything about him. Not even when I brought you to my apartment." "It wasn't your apartment, was it?" She glanced at Justin, hoping for an explanation. He stared at her in silence. "You said I wasn't stupid." "You're right. It wasn't my apartment. It belongs to my uncle. And you don't go to college, at least not Columbia. But I won't say anything. Now why don't you tell me about yourself?" Again she found herself listening. Justin reluctantly said, "I'm from Nevada. My family is a well-known family who lives near Lake Tahoe. I don't think you will know them. My father suggested that I come to New York and help out my uncle. Stay in his apartment while he's away and keep an eye on our business." "What's your name, really?" "Justin Samsa." He thought about what she asked, and he saw no need in explaining to her that the well-known family he spoke of was a family of werewolves. "If you Google me, there isn't anything important you will learn aside from what I'm telling you now. How am I to believe you when all you've told me is your name and a few facts about your family? I suspect that there is more to your story. Why would you hang around school if you don't attend?" "To meet you. I saw you from a distance and I had to know you." "So you pretended that you were a student to meet me? As much as I'm flattered, I don't believe you." I don't believe anything you've said. You will very soon. You will understand, and you will know that I didn't lie to you. He placed his hand over hers. Because of the cold, and his hand was unusually warm, she didn't pull it back. You will need me soon, Hannah, because what you are dealing with is out of your element. You don't have the understanding of what you're up against to be able to ward off that thing. She raised an eyebrow and stood. You act as if he's a creature, when all I see is a kind heart. She took offense at the way Justin described Jovani. It's what he wants you to see. He's a vampire. Do not let him fill your head with notions of marriage. He's probably already married. Hannah gawked at Justin and let out a huff of breath. Now you imagine that I will marry someone I don't even know. Because I'm here with you, and you are telling me this fanciful nonsense. You must think I'm a fool or gullible. She strode in the direction of the house, then turned back to see him looking at her. I'd better go in. It's getting cold out here. Justin caught up with Hannah and stopped her just before she pulled at the handle on the door. You have to believe what I say. You're in danger. A greater danger if not from him, from the other immortals. What have you been filing Hannah's head with? Your stories about me? You will go to any lengths to get a beautiful woman. Hannah and Justin turned quickly. She gazed at the figure standing in the dark, dressed in black, and once again she was taken with him and unable to resist Jovani's elegant charm. He smiled at Hannah, and all Justin could do was stand and watch. Hannah stood mesmerized once more, looking into Jovani's eyes. She could no longer see Justin. All she saw was Jovani's blue eyes watching at her. His blue eyes belied the truth that he was a killer of men. You do not come between me and Hannah again. If you do, you will not be able to stop me from the wrath I will rain down on your family. My family doesn't fear you or anyone of your kind. Justin stepped closer to Jovani. Will this be the day Justin would challenge Jovani for Hannah, and surely he would lose. He had been warned by his father, Lysel, that he wasn't a matured werewolf, only a pup looking to have his first female relationship. He remembered his father's words, don't die over a female. There will be many in your future. You will find your mate, and the first one you find will not be her. What did his father know? He was in love. And so was the fierce vampire that he was now threatening, and could end his days with one fierce blow. Justin thought that because Jovani was old, 100 years or more, that he could handle him. After all, he was young, and had been taught to shift to fight anything. But not a vampire. As Jovani held Hannah with his gaze and watched for Justin to make a move so he could rid himself of this lovesick werewolf, the door to the courtyard opened. What the fuck are you doing out here in this cold? Gabriella said. We have pizza inside and it's getting cold, Justin. Bring Hannah in. Her eyes wandered past Justin and Hannah. Oh, Mr. Nightingale, there are women wandering around looking for you. The party is breaking up and my mother wants to see you before you go. Justin took Hannah's hand, and because of its warmth, for some reason she followed him into the house, and Gabriella turned and walked behind them, leaving Jovani standing gazing at them into the night. When Jovani entered into his limo after saying goodnight to Gabriella's mother, the moon was full, night was ending, and morning just beginning.